And contemplation is a miracle that takes us beyond time. Contemplation traverses time. We could never, ever, ever, ever learn or understand what life is about and who we are unless we were able to transcend time. We don't live long enough to be able to contemplate life. No philosopher, scientist, priest, or intellectual has ever done so. Although we will never have all the answers and know that life is something that is revealed to us on a daily basis, we still know that there is a process happening. Most people are blind to the process in the first half of life. This is why suffering comes, to teach us to stop and rethink it all, start to finish, where we are all being loved by a continual daily outpouring of love, from the food we take, the sun, the earth, and of course, other awakened or awakening people. Our first job is one of awareness, to even know that there is an outpouring in the first place is an actual awakening in its own right. And it takes cognitive intelligence to actually grasp all of this. Do you know that many people believe there is no outpouring process? None at all. Do you know that they believe this is all a cosmic fluke, a mistake, repeated nowhere else in the universe? How grand our egos can really be. I encourage you today to simply think about that level of consciousness as it is presenting itself in you today. I do not ask you to believe this or that. Just contemplate reality as you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell it, consciously. This material connection that we have is enough to get any one of us to open our eyes and see what it is. To see what it is. This material connection is enough to get any one of us to open our eyes and see what it is. To see what it is could take a lifetime, or a million lifetimes for that matter. But you can transcend time and space as you go within and contemplate with all your senses. Senses that will open your soul to the truth of this loving process. Contemplation traverses time as a free gift to all of us to help complete the task of life. Our purpose of life is all the same. Each person has the same purpose. It is only when we believe we have separate purposes that wars come, and hate comes, and separation comes. Contemplation is given with grace to help you and I complete the task successfully. Although we are not controlled, we are guided. This is love. When you can see through contemplative awareness that you are guided, you in turn will guide others. And this is the sacred process, or the sacred quest back to our authentic selves. Over the last 20 years, we have helped people at our Center for Healing and Life Transformation with problems of thinking and being that have presented themselves as depression, stress, burnout, and addictions. Our psychologists, psychiatrists, or willfulness and mindfulness teachers don't get them well. They don't heal them. There is no such wellness or healing process in the world. The only process is the unveiling of consciousness. Nothing else happens to make people well. That's what makes them well. They realize, they come to know reality in themselves in a different way. That's all that happens. They learn how to think more correctly, and in so doing, leave the thinking errors and the distortions behind them. That is all that any psychologist or healer really does. They simply remove our errors in thinking. So we become more intelligent in this way, of course. I mean, earlier in the week, we were presenting a lecture where we discussed the idea that you can't get there from here. You cannot grasp, you cannot get to lasting peace, calm, purpose, or bliss unless you go beyond two things: ego and mind. You cannot understand life or yourself because you are not fully capable of understanding life or yourself. The intellect hates this knowing. It despises mystery and demands answers that will keep it safe, but answers it won't get. So it ends up having a tantrum because it learned in childhood, when all else fails in getting what you want, simply have a tantrum. We discovered in healing people that these tantrums were the depression and anxiety and the latent rage within. All we had to do to heal was to go beyond intellect and into the heart and soul, and we discovered how one really gets there. You get there from using all your faculties and talents, not just the mind. The mind is not enough. It must be transcended to be able to understand. We can translate this metaphorically to having to go beyond our very own human natures, our personalities and frames of reference. This is how we get there. We unite it all. And this is the meaning of ego, and even of the biggest religion in the world. I mean, Catholic also means unity of all, or universal. So contemplation traverses time because thinking is an error in the end. The Eastern wisdom traditions have always taught us this for centuries. For most of the world today, thinking is not working too well. Addiction rates are soaring. Pharmaceutical usage is also astronomical. So is the instances of depression and burnout. Yet we are the most educated, comfortable, and technologically advanced generation ever. We are acting like life is a race, and it is all about trying to manipulate time to win the race. Unfortunately, all this means in the end that it is slowly being shown to us that there is no race, but only a present moment. We're starting to see that the pharmaceuticals and races alike are both useless pursuits for most of us. The reality is that we are going nowhere, which frustrates your intellect, of course. We are only doing what those psychiatrists and psychologists do with the sick. We help people to become more conscious, because consciousness heals everything. When consciousness dawns, it's called an awakening from a nightmare of a race that we're losing. Haven't you had dreams like that? So no, there is no race, as we see that contemplation actually transverses time. Today you can develop your own contemplative practices and your contemplative intelligence, your higher intelligence, by just connecting body, mind, and soul together. You learn to be still, not race, and in doing so, experience how your very own contemplation traverses time.